Revenge films. One evening, I received a text from my mother-in-law, Rose. "I can't wait to see you next Wednesday." I was confused because I thought it was Thursday that we were supposed to meet. I thought about texting her back to double-check, but I just figured that either I had made a mistake and didn't text her back. My mother-in-law was quite mean, so I was glad that I was able to get it over with earlier. So, on Wednesday, I went to the grocery store to buy some food and took my son to see my mother-in-law. When I first visited, I was yelled at for ringing the doorbell. "What kind of family rings the doorbell before coming in? Are you trying to say that we're strangers or something?" And she complained about me to my husband. "Your wife is trying to distance herself from me." Ever since then, I do say something when I enter, but basically, I just help myself in. As usual this time, I said hi as I swung open the door and stepped into the house. Standing right there in the front of the entrance was Rose and another elderly man. Well, they weren't just standing. They were hugging each other and making out. "Rose?" They seemed panicked as they tried to step away from each other. But the man's pants were fully unzipped, and Rose's sweater was rolled up above her bra. It was a scary thought to think that if I was any later, I may have run into my own mother-in-law fornicating. The unexpected scene caught me off guard, and I panicked too. I jumped back as I shut the door in front of me. I just left the bag of food that I had brought and grabbed my son and ran from the scene. After I got home, my phone was exploding with calls and text messages from Rose, but I ignored them all. She finally got impatient and showed up at my house and started yelling. "Jill, please open up. I can explain." She kept banging on the door, but I didn't want to see her, so I hid in the back room with my son until she gave up and left. That evening, I received a phone call from my father-in-law, Jordan.
I noticed there was a bag of groceries by the front door, but did you drop those off, Jill?
Yeah, that was me.
Why did you just leave them there? Was there no one home? Those fish were already rotting when I got home.
Well, Rose was home, but
Huh? Really? I wonder what happened.
I started feeling terrible after hearing his gentle and concerned voice, and I couldn't hide it from him anymore, so I came clean about everything I saw that day. That night, all hell broke loose at my in-laws' house. My husband, Jack, who came home late and tired from work, was summoned to the scene immediately. I was told to come too, but I told them that I was too tired and refused to go. I was just too shaken up. However, the next morning I received a text from Jack.
My mother just keeps yelling about how you're lying, and this discussion is going nowhere. Can you please join us so we can get to the bottom of this, Jill?
So, I pretty much had no choice but to join the discussion. I left my son with my sister, who lived nearby, and as I approached my in-laws' house, I could already hear them yelling at each other inside. I could see the neighbors looking out of their windows in curiosity, and I was hesitant to go inside. Jack noticed me through the window and came out to get me.
Just come inside.
He shielded me from the neighbors and brought me into the house.
Sorry to put you on the spot like this, but can you tell us everything you know, Jill?
As Jordan tried to ask me to speak, Rose jumped in and started yelling at me. "I'm telling you, this girl is a liar. I've been so good to you, Jill. How could you make up such a story? It's unbelievable."
Shut your mouth! I'm talking to Jill right now.
Why won't you believe me? I'm telling you, this girl is a liar.
Enough, Mom, this is going nowhere!
They kept going at it for a while. "I always knew you were a shady girl, but you're finally showing your true colors, aren't you, Jill? Ugh! You should have never married this girl, Jack. Get a divorce right now. Those words pushed me over the edge. I'd had enough. I pulled our phone out that I brought from the house out of my bag and plugged it into the wall. They were all staring at me, wondering what I was about to do. As they watched me, I played the answering machine.
This is a misunderstanding, Jill. That man is, well...
Next message.
Hey, pick up! I know you're there. Let me explain.
Next message.
That's enough. You better not tell Jack or Jordan about what happened before you talk to me first.
After a few of the messages had played, Rose picked up the phone and threw it against the wall and started going crazy.
Calm down.
Jordan held her down and made her sit.
Who's the other guy?
Jack and Jordan started questioning Rose, but she wasn't very cooperative. It doesn't matter. She didn't give up any information for a while. Finally, when it started getting dark out, Rose was mentally and physically exhausted. She started bawling.
It was Joe!
Her scream sounded like a sorry cry of defeat. Jack and Jordan seemed shocked by the unexpected name. Joe was one of Jordan's childhood buddies. Joe's wife was good friends with Rose, and their son had been friends with Jack since childhood as well. They lived just around the corner and were close family friends. Even I had been invited to spend time with Joe's son, Gary, and his wife. I'd never met Joe or his wife yet, so that was why I didn't notice who it was when I encountered them. Jordan was extremely shocked to hear his best friend's name come out of Rose's mouth. I was worried at how pale he looked after hearing the news. But they had been yelling at each other for 2 days straight now, and the extremity of the situation must have been overly exhausting. Jordan didn't have the strength to be angry anymore. He just slowly turned towards us and said,
It's late already. You guys should go home.
So, we left Jack's parents' house, both feeling very depressed about the reality of the situation.
Sorry you got caught up in all this.
Jack apologized to me, and we drove the rest of the way home in silence. By the way, Rose was 68 years old, about 4'7", and a little bit chubby. Jordan was 61, 7 years younger than Rose. He had just begun using up his leftover paid holidays and was planning on retiring afterwards. My heart ached to imagine how Jordan must feel right now. Jordan had been working as a teacher his entire life, and the house that they lived in was Rose's idea. You're going to get a bunch of retirement money, right? I'm sick of renting a place. Let's build a new house and move there. Jordan really didn't have any say in the decision, and they just bought the house recently. They planned to pay it off with Jordan's retirement bonus. It was Rose's decision to build the house near Joe's. Joe and his wife had just moved into town recently as well, to live together with Gary and his wife. Her reasoning was this: once you retire, you'll have a bunch of free time. So if we live near Joe and his family, you can hang out with him all you want, and I can spend time with his wife. So it'll be good for the both of us. Thinking back, it must have all been an excuse to have the affair. After the incident, Jordan and Rose got divorced, and Jack and I started living with Jordan in place of Rose. Joe didn't get a divorce because his wife refused to. But after paying alimony to Jordan, they had to leave Gary's house because it became too uncomfortable for them to be there. Rose had thought that she would be able to be with Joe if she got divorced, but things didn't go as planned for her. She wasn't able to receive any of Jordan's money and was thrown out, and she had been a housewife all her life. Please forgive me! I'm going to starve to death! Rose came to the house and begged for mercy many times, so Jordan called the police and had her taken away. I haven't heard from Rose since, but rumors are that she lives in a tiny, rundown apartment in poverty.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.